everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I am delighted to have Richard Megson, complete ASAP's, what are you, inspiration, founder, genius, just all of the above, isn't it?
I'd stick with managing director, Whaley.
MD. Oh, wow.
I've not had as many coffees as you've had this morning, clearly.
No, that's
But as
exactly.
always, great to
Yeah.
see you.
Yeah, thank you for saying that. That's really important. Richard, we're here today that we're going to be talking about how estate agents can use local data to support their business. Clearly, the likes of Mr. Watkins is always talking about the importance of being hyper local. We all know that. Is it fair to say this is outside of your usual sort of remit? Whenever we talk to you, we normally from a complete ASAP point of view, it's about taking away what's one of the biggest problems that any agent has, isn't it, around their
Yeah.
pipeline, around everything else. So just talk to us about how this came about.
Well, I was introduced to Katie Billany, who's the MD of 28 some time ago.
Yeah.
And we started using their data probably about 18 months ago. And it's been really interesting and invaluable. So the way that we use it is almost twofold. We use it to understand how we as a business are performing in certain areas in terms of turnaround times, which is obviously a key metric for us, fall through rates.
Yeah.
Um, but we also use it as an account management tool. So all the agents that we work with, we provide a monthly report, and we're now providing data from 28 on the postcode areas where they sell, which shows key metrics in terms of market share, sales, fall throughs, exchange rates, turnaround times. So it shows them how they're performing as a business against their direct competitors. So in terms of business development, we target certain areas where turnaround times are slow. But as a tool, the data is invaluable both internally, and the feedback we're getting from agents is valuable for them as well because it shows how they're performing.
I think it's a fascinating area, isn't it? First of all, I mean, 20EA and Kate in particular, they're amazing, aren't they? But I think their data is so good, so accurate. I think there's what I love about what you're doing though is sometimes you can get swamped with the data, can't you? And what you're doing is turning it into actionable, useful information. And
Yeah.
that's where the magic happens, isn't it? I think famously, obviously, Chris Watkins uses a lot of their stuff in his stats show and everything else. But for you to provide this as a service for the agents, that's a really valuable, powerful partnership between you and 20A there. So that's really really interesting. So I mean. So those key metrics at any level for any agent, there's no part of the country where you're not able to do this for.
No, absolutely. All over the country, and you can split it right down to postcode areas. So, it can be hyper local in line with where an agent operates. And some of the agents are looking at new areas. They want to see some of the stats on that. So, the information, the reason we're doing it is knowledge, but also as a value add. But I suppose, when I'm talking or we're talking to agents about how we perform, the fact that we're quicker than the market average. This puts it in black and white because it's independent data. And that's really valuable, both as, affirmation that you're actually doing what you said you'd do, but also just to provide information to an agent about how they're performing in an area against the competition with key metrics. What they do with that is entirely up to them. So this is provided free of charge and on a frequency that they want it. So it might be twice a year, quarterly.
So as a free service, so I can't take my kerfuffle cut on free, can I? So that's outrageous. Okay, fair
No,
enough.
but I always stand around with you, Whaley.
Yeah, that's all right. This is, I mean, that's going to be the right price point for many. Can I ask you a question? And I'm going to caveat it because I am going to say it's a loaded question anyway. When you talk to the agents, ballpark, what percentage of them are surprised by the stuff you're showing?
That's a really good question.
Thank
I mean,
you. It's going to be higher than you think,
well,
isn't
let,
it?
let, let, let me answer it in a few different ways. I'm surprised that so many agents don't use data.
Yeah, I'm not
Um,
surprised at all, by the way, but that's why I
I,
loaded.
okay, fine. I was, but maybe my starting point was wrong. But in terms of, I don't know if I'd use the word surprise, but I think it gives them information or a level of detail that they don't have.
Yeah.
So things like the size of the market, I think most of them have got an idea of where that is, but it's the percentages, percentage exchange, things
Yeah, the
like turnaround
minutiae. It's
time.
that minutiae. It's the detail, isn't it? That's
It's
what's
the
really.
absolute detail
Yeah.
of it. So I think it's the breadth of information that you can get from this that they can have a look at. But to put a percentage on it, well, it's definitely north of 50% and
I,
maybe a lot higher than that.
look, I'd have been astounded if that wasn't the case, or I'd have re-edited it afterwards if that was said. But I tell you what, I do think is what's vital about it, and again, the magic of what you're doing and for via 20A, it's that benchmarking ability, isn't it? I think most of the agents, if they're on, on the case, will know their numbers, but to be able to benchmark that against the postcode average, for example, and the key competitors there, and to again have that coming from an independent source. That again feels like a big advantage.
Yeah, 100%. And I mean, the point you make about the market average is really important because it not only benchmarks you against other agents, but against what happens in your market as an average. And I've had discussions with an agent, won't mention their name, probably about a year ago, and
Mm.
they were really concerned about the turnaround times.
Yeah.
Um, there was a degree of leasehold, but the turnaround times were a lot higher than our average across our business, but it was irrefutable. Their turnaround times were not great,
Yeah.
and they weren't happy about it. So I started digging into the data in their area, and lo and behold, and this was amazing, they were actually the quickest agent, probably by about 15, 20 days from sold to completion. So, from my
Right.
point of view, that allowed me to sort of benchmark us against the market, but also gave the agent some sort of context to the point where he then took it to the market saying, if you sell through us, we'll complete quicker. And
Love that.
that's a powerful piece of information, but it was almost a negative to a positive.
I
But as
think
you
that's
said
good.
right at the start of this, markets are hyper local. So
Yeah.
yes, you can run an average across the country, but
Yes.
to an agent, that is almost irrelevant. So it's drilling into the locality of the market and seeing where you lie. And the averages across the country are so different, are so different.
And why is that? I mean, is that literally is it down to certain local councils being appalling and that impacts on searches and things like that? Is it literally just down to obviously markedly different price points and that affects other things? What is there one? There is no one simple answer, I suppose, is there?
No, there isn't, but because there's so many moving parts in a transaction.
Yeah.
But if you look at the top 15 agents in a particular area, they're going to have a significant market share.
Yeah.
And what I've found interesting looking at a host of different areas, the difference in turnaround times in those top 15 is not dramatic. It could
Okay.
be 50 or 60 days, but it's not somebody
Not
completing it,
markedly.
not 50 days up to 400 days. And when
Yeah.
you think about that, you'd expect that because all these agents are involved in each other's chains.
Yeah.
So you would expect that. But obvious things like parts of London and other parts of the country where there's heavy leasehold,
Yeah. That's all
that will
correlate.
without doubt affect turnaround times. I don't know if you put it down to the quality of agents putting together bad deals. I think this data would be a bit general on that. But yeah, things like searches, council being slow with searches will
Yeah.
have an impact
No
on
impact
everyone in
across.
the area.
I love what you were saying there, though, as well. That almost that thing just previously about the agent was beating themselves up, and yet actually it comes back to what was the old joke is
But
you don't.
they were beating me up as well.
Okay, fair enough. That you don't have to famously be the fastest, but when you're escaping from a crocodile, you just need to be the least slow. As long as you've got that context about what is what where you sit in this and where you can use it. That's a really interesting way of using the data in these reports effectively there. And so just to understand this as well, though, so just you're providing this not just to complete SAP clients. This is going to go out to others as well. And
Yeah, I mean, we're sort of promoting this across a number of platforms, and basically the offer is if you're interested in finding out how you're doing where you sell, contact us.
yeah,
We'll provide it free of charge. Now, on the back of that, if there's an opportunity for us to speak to agents about our service, great. But I've had quite a few agents saying, I'm not interested in you,
yeah, I
but
get
I'm
it. Yeah,
interested in your data. And that's
yeah.
absolutely
They
fine.
might
If you,
they might not be interested at the beginning, but if they can't, do you highlight that those key turnaround stats as well a little
might
bit
do,
larger?
might do. No, but I mean, I think this is a genuine offer,
Yeah,
and
great.
I've talked many times about outsourced sales progression is not everybody's cup of tea, but I think data is really important,
I agree.
and it puts everything in context. Um, so having detailed information about an area where an agent works, personally, I think is really important. Now I'm repeating myself, but yeah, for those agents that are interested in how they're doing, just contact us.
And how do they access it? Is it digital? Is it a hard copy report? What does it look like?
It's hard copy report. So, we've got the data through 20EA. The agent would specify the postcodes that they want. We'll provide them with a report. So, we'll make it look pretty. But I mean, ultimately, it's the data that counts. And depending on the area, we tend to focus on agents that sell more than 10 properties a month
Yeah,
because in any given market, you've got massive tails.
yeah,
Um, and you can provide data on somebody selling 5 properties a year, but you know there's no, I don't see any value in that. So a lot of the agents that we work with would be mid-size. There might even be one branches, but very, very good at selling.
yeah.
So we tend to focus on the top 10 or 20 because beyond that the tail starts getting quite
I
long.
can understand how it starts to go down, and that way that you use the data is critical as well, isn't it? And it depends very much, I suppose, on the goals that you're setting yourself. Are you looking to grow? Are you holding? Are you defending, and everything else? There again, the data gives you, I suppose, confidence in what your approach is going to be, dependent on which one of those is the key.
Well, that's the same for us and same for the agent. As I said, it puts everything in context. But if an agent is aggressively growing market share, or they've lost market share, they want to understand why. Fall throughs are too high. It just informs or should inform their decisions. And I would argue this is a really good time to find out where you are because lots of the forward-thinking agents are going to be looking at next year.
Yeah,
They're going to be putting their plans together, budgets, if they haven't already started this. And this is really just a benchmark. And in
yeah,
terms of the business, what are the goals for next year? Clearly, set a budget,
yeah.
hit a
Yeah.
budget. But how do we achieve that?
Yeah, as you said, we're building up to the end of the year and everything else there. But sounds like these reports and what you do with it, it would be critical to ensuring you have the best 2026 you possibly could do as well, isn't it? So,
Well, I'm not suggesting for a minute that agents out there don't have market information. This is not clearly the only
yeah,
source. We can serve it on a plate, but lots of the agents I speak to do know their market inside out.
yeah.
Um, But every now and again, there's a stat that they go, "Oh, didn't know that," and
And
that's the
that,
interesting part.
And that's the key point about visualization and picking the right stuff out, isn't it? Again, there and you did say it before. Actually, one of those clients or some of the agents were thinking about potentially expanding into a new area as well. So I could imagine that would be where they might not be as sure as the data as they might could be, because a lot of those different data tools and prospecting tools and things like that out there, they do make you operate on your own your own core areas. So actually, to be able to look outside of that without taking on again another subscription, this would be the first port of call to make sure that that's whether it's worthwhile even looking at it.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously the growth of the self-employed model, but lots of established agents are now going out of patch with self-employed agents.
Yeah.
So it's really understanding the opportunity and who they're going to be up against, frankly.
I was staggered. Obviously, look, you're great partners of us on the relocation agent network side of things, and we're definitely going to be looking to roll this out to all of our guys. And some of the guys clearly gave great feedback. We were talking about them off camera as well there. But I think you know yeah, that element that you're talking about there, that you just want to make 100% sure that you're not missing the opportunity, that you know that I think that each agency has its strengths and weaknesses, don't they? Ultimately, there. So how they're going to use this data both internally and externally, and it'd be fascinating to see over a period of time is, where most agents do use that internal management tools and team tools and everything else there, or do they take the opportunity, as you were talking about with the other business just before, use that as a key marketing message out there with your external marketing?
Yeah, I mean, I watch Chris Watkins post, and he's always beating up agents that talk about market share. I won't use his expression, but
Well, he's always versus someone. He's very antagonistic, that fella.
yeah, he's a good guy. Um, but interestingly, I think, to expand his point is really what's in it for the vendor, what's
Yeah,
in it for the buyer. But some of these stats do give tangible benefits,
yeah,
i.e., I will sell your property quicker. To
yeah,
me,
yeah,
if I'm
yeah,
a vendor, I want to know that. And by the way, when I sell your property and it's starting going through the legal process, I'll complete it quicker. That again, I think is a tangible benefit. Um, clearly the service is important, but ultimately the end goal is sell my property and max out on the price.
yeah,
So it also shows what percentage of properties have had a price reduction. So things like that.
yeah.
Just turning boring stats, well, I don't think they're boring, but that probably makes me
No, but
boring.
this is. I was just
But
going to
but
jump
but
in.
into a benefit. What's in it for me?
Yeah,
How can I benefit, be it the agent or more importantly, probably their clients?
I think that point though is you said it earlier. The agents will know a lot of their stats and they'll know them verbatim and everything else. Unfortunately, they're the boring stats to the consumer, as you're just talking about, that Chris will talk about. So market share will be top thumped and everyone will be obsessing about. Does the vendor really care about that? Chris's
Possibly
favorite
not.
focus on pie charts, focusing on being able to do the job and do it effectively and leaving, being able to do it in a proper time scale as well. And then looking at other demographics about, do they get good reviews indicating customer service? This is the stuff we need to be much better at communicating through to the ultimately the consumer at the end of the day.
Yeah, I totally agree. Totally agree.
And it was interesting when we were looking at, obviously on the RAND side, looking at recruitment across the board there, and we were looking at, potentially awarding a license in a new area where we didn't have a full member. And I'm just meant to be fairly well connected and sort of, I use so many of the data tools, but I was staggered at how quick moving and how fast paced it is, because obviously now those hybrid agents, personal agents, whatever you want to call them, there are mixing up the marketplace. Suddenly you can look back at the marketplace stats, and there's been a whole really quick change around because some very effective, traditional agents have become there, and of course I know that the agents will be aware of this, but to see it again in black and white again is quite important.
Well, I mean, what Adam Day's done at EXP
The
is
numbers
is
there.
extraordinary. I mean, in 5 years from a standing start, um, it's to be absolutely admired. Just coming back to the data, though,
Yeah.
what one thing that's really important, certainly for me internally, but also when I'm promoting my business, these stats are independent. They're a third party verified by,
Much.
by most people's opinion would be best in class. I certainly think they are. Apologies to anybody out there that disagrees. But it's independent, and independent's really good. It's not me saying, well, this is what we do. It's
No.
there it is.
That has a lot more, as you said, a lot more value for. Well, I genuinely, Richard, I think it's absolutely fantastic. I think you and Katie in the 2018 working with this, I think you'd be mad not to just get an example of this from you guys and have a conversation about what it means. And just a way to meet. I mean, obviously anybody can reach out to me, myself personally. Go to obviously Richard's page on Kerfuffle, the landing page, complete ASAP, and you can put an inquiry there. If they want to reach out to you directly, Richard, what's the best way to do that?
By email, so feel free to circulate it, or do you want me to give it now?
You can do it. Feel
Uh,
free.
rmegson at completeasap.co.uk.
Magic. Brill, mate. A lot of very exciting. Really, really keen to see you adding this into the mix as well. And again, anyone who takes advantage of, please give feedback on that. But certainly, I can't wait to start seeing it rolling around our RAN agents. So for today, Richard, thank you so much. I look forward to catching you up in the next soiree.
Indeed. Look forward to it, mate. Thank you for your time.
Okay. Cheers.